they're telling people, some of these folks are telling people, you need to keep eating cooked food. You need to keep eating some animal products. You need to, I mean, they're actually having people eat some really terrible stuff to slow down the detoxification. Think about this. How many of you ever smoked cigarettes? Anybody? Okay, several of you did. How did you stop smoking cigarettes? How'd you stop?
Right away.
Cold turkey. How'd you stop? How about you?
I was never really heavy, but I just stopped it.
You just stopped. How'd you stop?
I quit 2 times. The first time I weaned, and the
Okay.
second time I came here.
Okay, so you've been smoking till you got here. Okay, you know, is it better? I mean, weaning is a transition, isn't it? We're going to transition off cigarettes. You can use a patch, you can use gum, you can simply start smoking fewer and fewer cigarettes. Is that a better way? Is it safer? Is it healthier? Is it better? Look, whatever works for you is great. If you want to get off cigarettes and that's what you needed to do to stop, perfect. If you're willing to simply stop smoking them, you're going to have more symptoms that way. You're going to feel more detox. But you're also not continuing to put tar and nicotine into your body. You're going to get that crap out of your system much faster. Isn't that ideal if you can do it that way? So how's it different with diet? I mean, these people are saying, you know, they're acting as if our bodies are some stupid machine that can't handle a transition. Like they don't understand what's going on now. So it messes everything up. Your body is a highly intelligent organism, and what it knows is that the stuff we were all eating before wasn't what it wanted, and it wasn't beneficial to us. And if we overnight improve the diet as you did and I did and others here did, Destiny did the same thing. If we overnight make that kind of a change, what happens is it says, thank you so much, this is so much better, now I can begin to detoxify. You know, in fact, what I've experienced with most of my clients who haven't fasted with me first, but first changed their diet, is that they feel terrific for 4 to 6 weeks. And then there's finally enough energy for the body to begin to detoxify at a faster rate, and it might get uncomfortable. And many people make the mistake of thinking, oh, this isn't working for me. That's making me sick. No, your body's finally able to detoxify. But if you understand that, it's not usually something most people can't deal with. And if it gets a bit too heavy, there's some things you can do. You can eat a little bit more heavily, right? I mean, you know, without going back to cooked food, for instance, you could simply eat more heavily, more nuts and seeds, more bananas, more avocados will slow down the detoxification. More food, more activity means less energy available to cleanse and heal. These are all things that you can do to slow down the detoxification without going back to the really toxic stuff that made us sick in the first place. So, honestly, I've never seen anybody that needed to transition. So oftentimes it's just about what's going on in your mind. It reminds me of the time I had errands to run in Panama City. We had a shuttle like we do here that would bring people from the airport. But sometimes I needed to be in town myself, and this one day there were only 2 people coming in that day. I needed to be in the city myself. I said to them, I'll pick you up myself. So as we're driving back from the airport, one of them was an intern that was just about to start with us. And he said, and he had signed up for the program just 2 or 3 days before, maybe a week before, right? Where often there's 6 months, a year, or even more. This guy is like, he contacted me and said, I'd like to do this. We happen to have one space open. He came down immediately. We're driving back from the airport, and he says, so I assume that will you break the fast with juices? I said, nope. And you don't need to assume anything. I sent you all the information. He's like, well, I didn't really have time to read it. It's okay. Well, I don't even have a juicer. Okay, there's no juices. We break the fast with whole foods like every other species on the planet does. That's how we break our fast. He's like, well, but you know, what if someone needs juices? I said, well, I've never seen that happen. And then he said to me, and during refeeding, I mean, there's cooked food available if someone needs cooked food? And I said, what exactly would that look like? I've never seen that. I have no idea what it would look like when someone needs to have cooked food. I've never seen that. He said, well, I fasted once with Dave Scott, who passed away a few years ago. He was in his 90s. He'd been fasting people 50-some years outside of Cleveland, Ohio. And Scott said, this guy said, well, Dave Scott said sometimes people need cooked food. I said, okay, well, with all due respect to Dave Scott, I don't know what that would look like. I've never seen it. It's never happened here. We've never had a stove. We've never given anyone cooked food. Everyone's been fine. I have no idea what that would look like. It's not going to happen. And he's freaking out. And I said, you know what? You've got a couple options. You can get in a taxi back to the airport, or you can surrender to the process, because this is how we're going to do it. We're not changing it for you. Okay, we're going to do what's always worked. That's what we're going to do. He decided to stay. He was thinking there might have to be some kind of transition. It wasn't necessary. Okay, so it was, and he was freaking out, not because there was really an issue, but because he thought there was an issue. I mean, this guy in Spain he claims to have been around the natural health industry for 15 years, still eating animal products and cooked food. Oh, and he's planning on being a raw vegan. Eventually, sometime in the next 10 or 15 years, when he can do it, when his body is ready. Okay, maybe when hell freezes over, that would be a good time to make the change. I just wait till then. Okay, when it snows in Miami on July 1st, then that would be a good time to change over. Okay, these things aren't going to happen. Okay, there's not going to be some, all of a sudden, like he's going to wake up and say, this is it, this is the day. I can do it today. Because he's continuing to create the addictions by consuming the same things that have always created the addictions and problems. He's continuing to have health challenges because he's continuing to consume those things that are creating those health challenges. There is no way to get your body clean without experiencing some discomfort sometimes. Now, sometimes some people go through the process. So far, you've had a relatively easy process. Yours has been pretty easy too, right? Some Destiny's too. Some people go through the process and they say, this is easy, there's nothing to this. I don't think Parm would agree with you. Okay? I don't think Ferdinand would agree with you. There's a whole bunch of people that wouldn't agree with you. Okay? Sometimes people find this to be, Parm said today, right, that this is almost as hard as pushing toothpaste back in the tube. That was my thing. She said this is the hardest thing she's ever done. Okay, this is the hardest thing she's ever done. That's how it occurs for some people. But take a look. She's doing it. She's fine. She's okay, and she's going to come through this, and she's going to be healthier than ever for having been willing to put up with the discomfort. You can't, well, I'm not willing to do the discomfort, so I'll just keep eating cheeseburgers and hope that someday I'll be ready to change. Yeah, not so likely. Okay, you have to be willing to give your body the chance to cleanse and heal, and for some people, it's not going to be any fun. But raise your hand if you came here looking for a good time. No. Okay? Yeah, you should have gone to Disney World instead. Yeah, at least, right? Where's the mini bar? Where's the little peanuts that are $18? That's what we should start. That's how we'll actually make our profit. Right, mini bars. Yeah, it's the fact is that in order to get as healthy as possible, you have to cleanse your body. And sure, you can do it slowly over the course of many, many, many years, or a decade or more, but it's not necessary to do that. Okay, it's not necessary. And you guys and the other 3,000 people that have been here are living proof of that.
I think an author who writes that is appealing to the masses because that's going to sell more books. Because if you just say, listen, you can do it in 5 pages. You know,
Right.
It's fast. But if you make a big book and you say, hey,
Yeah.
take it easy, and, this
Right.
is what I'm going to do, I'll pass it to my friend. This is the way we're going to get healthy in 15 years. Yeah, it appeals to the masses. He'll sell more books that way. Maybe
so. Yeah, as far as I know, he hasn't written a book yet. This is just on Facebook. And I found out about it because someone tagged me because he was taking my name in vain. You know, he was saying Loren Lockman's a liar. He's full of crap. It's not possible to get healthy fasting. It's too dangerous. You can't possibly, you know, he claims to have been a raw vegan for 24 years. No one's been a raw vegan that long. It's not possible. You know, it's like, you know, this is a guy that's never met me. He's never laid eyes on me. He's making statements about how weak I am and out of shape I am. I'm like, you know, dude, I'll tell you what. I'm going to be in Spain this summer. You know, let's get some boxing gloves. We'll see who's weak. Yeah. You might be right, Chris. It might be partly that he's trying to appeal to more people. But I think part of it is that there are a lot of people who simply aren't willing to do what they need to do. And he's appealing to those folks. Yep. 98% of the population is just, you know, they're like, if you tell them, listen, you can't, you know, you have to keep making poor choices. They're like, oh, that's too bad. Okay, good. Right? It's like they've got mixed feelings because it's what they actually want to do. They may want to get well, but they don't really want to do what they need to do to get well. And so if someone tells them they can't, you're going to have to keep making some poor, oh, all right, well, I guess I'll just have to suffer then. Right? Pass me another donut, please. Anybody have any questions or comments on the subject? Okay, so, right, so Ferdinand is saying that, you know, some people like him need to have things happen quickly. They need to see the changes. You needed to do something that was going to give you results. And I agree. I mean, let me point out, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with taking 20 years to transition, if you want to. I'm only saying it's completely unnecessary. You know, someone who's out there telling people it's the only way. You're going to die if you give up cooked foods tomorrow, you'll probably die. Like, you can't do that. That's absurd. And that's like talking to a mechanic who says to you, this car can never go more than 60 miles an hour, right? Instead of talking to someone who says, I've actually taken, 3,000 cars just like this one. I've taken them from 60 to 90 miles an hour. Okay, I know how to do that. And he's saying, no, it's not possible. Well, he's never done it. I mean, he only knows it's not possible because he thinks it's not possible because he hasn't done it himself. In fact, I've noticed quite a few people like this over the years. They're always naysayers. These are the people, there's a guy, well-known guy. In fact, you know what? Alan Goldhammer, True North, who's been printing for 25 years, you can't live on raw food. You know why he says that? Because on the 3 or 4 times he's attempted to go raw, he's failed. This is the height of arrogance. If I can't do it, it must not be possible. So that's what this guy's doing. I mean, here's a guy who his experience is not successfully doing something. That makes him an expert in what's possible? I think that only makes him an expert in what he's been incapable of, and nothing more than that. Isn't that true? I mean, has anyone here ever tried to do something and failed? Oh, I've done that many times. Does that mean it's not possible? Does that mean it can't be done? Does that give you, your failure to do something, does it give you expertise in that area? Of course not. How could it? Why are people going to this guy? Like Chris said, they're hearing what they want to hear.
I've had this problem before. My blood pressure got really high, my cholesterol was high. I don't know what I tried, triglycerin, what is.
Triglycerides?
I don't know what it was, but they couldn't even measure it, okay? So she went and got the defibrillator, and while I was in the office, the doctor says, well, just in case you have a heart attack while you're in my office. She didn't know if to send me to the hospital or just give me some pills. So I did it. I got it down, everything right, but it took me a year and a half. I don't know what my cholesterol is right now, but here, the blood pressure, to get it down from what it was similar to when I got here, to normal, took at least 8 months.
8 months.
With pills.
And you did it in 15 days.
Yeah, in 15 days, and I feel much better.
Below normal. Any other questions or comments about this subject? It reminds me of just one more thing. I believe it's an old, I can't remember now if this is a Zen saying or where this came from, who said this first, but this goes something like, those who say it can't be done shouldn't interrupt those who are doing it. Okay? There's always going to be naysayers out there. There's always going to be people out there to tell you that you can't do what you're doing, or who do you think you are to even try to do what you're doing, okay? You know, I said this to you guys before. Don't pay any attention to these people. The only real limitations we have are the ones that we accept for ourselves. In any area of your life, don't accept limitations. Okay? Don't let people tell you what you can't do. I would say, thanks for your opinion, not interested. I'm not interested in that opinion. Do it, I didn't ask for it. You keep it to yourself. Don't be foisting that on other people. That's not cool. Okay, you believe whatever you want. You know, in dealing directly with one of these guys from Spain, who is calling me names and so forth, you know, I said, listen, you know, your expertise, it's clear that you have some expertise here. Your expertise is in how to be mediocre. Okay? But, you know, if anybody here that's interested in excellence, why would you listen to this guy? Okay? All he knows is that he's failed himself. He's never succeeded. He hasn't created a high level of health. Why would you listen to someone like that? Whatever it is you're interested in doing, go find someone or a group of people who have succeeded in creating what it is you're interested in creating. Okay? You're a successful businessman. Yes? Okay. If you want business advice, this is a guy you might want to talk to. Okay? Destiny's 17 years old. I'm guessing you're probably not a successful business person yet. You know, let's just pretend for a second that Destiny's flipping burgers at McDonald's. She's not, I'm sure. She probably would never do that. But, you know, would you go to someone flipping burgers at McDonald's for advice on business? A lot of people do. They talk to their best friends. What do you think of this idea? Why are you asking that person? How could they possibly know anything useful to you in this context? Why would you get their advice on this? Go get advice from someone who actually has succeeded in that realm. Okay, why would you take health advice from someone who hasn't achieved a high level of health himself? There are a lot of health gurus out there. Anybody know Andrew Weil? He's a Harvard-educated MD who's published 12 books on health and alternative health. The guy's like 70, 80 pounds overweight. Okay? I went to see Deepak Chopra speak after, this was many years ago. I was still living in the U.S. He just published a book called Perfect Health. And I said, I like Deepak. Not so much for his health stuff, because it's all Ayurveda, and I don't believe in it. But because he's got great stuff in the spiritual realm that I pay attention to. So I went to hear him speak, and he walks out on stage, and I'm thinking, he's like 50 pounds overweight. He's writing about perfect health. Let me ask you guys a question. If someone's 50 pounds overweight, what do they know about perfect health? Anybody? What do they know?
Not to achieve it.
How not to achieve it? One way to not get there? Can someone who isn't healthy themselves, can they know what it's like to be perfectly healthy? Can they know what it requires to achieve it if they've never done that? They can't. This is a very intelligent group of people. We always get intelligent people here. The people who come here are typically extraordinary people who are willing to take responsibility for their health, who think outside of the box. We tend to get extraordinary people. But you want to understand something. All that you've learned throughout your life, okay, if someone's told it to you, like a teacher or professor, or you've read it in a book, you either believe it or you don't believe it. You do not know it until you experience it. Einstein said the only real source of knowledge is experience. And even probably 80% of the experience is wasted on people who don't know how to properly interpret it. I talk to people all the time who tell me, well, I tried fasting, it didn't work for me. Why not? It made me sick. Because they don't understand that when you fast, your body is going to cleanse and heal, and that looks like being sick. So they're misinterpreting their experience. They think they know that fasting didn't help them. But they don't know that because they didn't properly interpret their experience. We talked about research yesterday, the walnut research. Okay? There are people out there who know you have to eat walnuts, half a dozen walnuts to be healthy every day. Do you? No, not necessarily. They don't know that, they believe that. Even if they had the experience themselves, they're interpreting their experience in a way that's maybe not completely accurate. Can you see what I'm talking about? Yeah? Question?